logic doesn't have to do anything to do with a fictional book, a fantasy book.
Okay. And that, my friends, is the essence of this discussion. Hello, my friends, and welcome to part 4 of this 4-part series on the discussion I had with Thomas from Knowledge is Power about the video of mine that I made that he disagreed with. The other 3 videos I'll be linking in the description, as well as the original video to which he objected. All right. Initially, I didn't want to have this discussion because I knew it was going to be one-sided. What Thomas essentially was saying is everything that's said in the Bible, even though it may be a fictional book, must be taken as true within the story. You cannot step outside of the Bible and look at things realistically or logically. You have to see things from inside the Bible. So if the Bible says within the Bible that something is true, you have to accept that it is true within the story. Now, this was his foundation for this video, and it's what I strongly objected to, and I object to several times within the video, that this is why I didn't want to have this discussion. But I had it anyway. I was hoping it could be an honest discussion, that he would realize the fault with that premise, but he never did. But we went ahead with it anyway, and perhaps you'll find something interesting in it. Either way, enjoy.
First of all, I want to start with something very simple. Okay, like we did with the case of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, that's very simple for anyone to see, because the story says that those people were wicked. Okay, God removed the individuals who he didn't have a problem with. Okay, because he told Lot, no, not Lot, Abraham. He said, because Abraham was like kind of upset like you were. He was thinking, well, God, why are you going to destroy the whole city? What if there are a few righteous people in there? And then he worked all the way down to 10 people being in there. God says, hey, if I find 10 righteous people in the city, I'll pardon the whole place. Okay, does that sound evil? All right, no. All right, so what happens is he gets there.
There's a flaw in that argument.
Huh?
There's a flaw in that argument.
All right, let me just finish it. Yeah. Okay? All right. All right, you accuse. Okay, first of all, you have to understand this. You complain against God for allowing evil, as if you are actually against evil. Okay, people. When you say evil, you're talking about people who practice evil things, who are, killing, stealing, raping, going on. Okay, evil things. Okay, so when God hears a cry against the city, which is very evil, he intends to go down there and destroy it, or destroy the evil people. Okay, now Abraham finds out about it, and he says, well, wait a minute, God, you're the judge of all the earth. Aren't you going to do what's right? What if there are a few righteous people in the city? And so he says, if I find 50 righteous people in there, I'll pardon the whole place. Then he works in Abraham continues to talk to him all the way down to 10. So God would pardon the whole city if he found 10 righteous people. So it's like, how is that evil? All right, so then when he goes, he doesn't find even 10. So it ends up, he gets the few out that are supposedly righteous, okay? And the rest of them are clearly evil and wicked. The evil that you supposedly disagree with. So God gets rid of it, but then you call them evil for getting rid of the evil that you complain about. So it's like you're not. That's unreasonable. So that's a very simple case. So I'm saying
no, not at all.
All right, let me finish. Just a couple more seconds. If you can't understand, that's a very simple judgment. That's very clear to see. If you can't see that, then the other things that are a little bit more difficult to understand, you're not going to understand it. That's my point. I mean, again, if you're complaining against, let's take God out of it, okay? Because some people just have a hard time. They can't reason because they have so much animosity against God. Let's say you take a government. All right. Let's say you have a government and they're allowing criminals to run free. All right. And just messing up your neighborhood. Your kids can't go outside and play. It's just a terrible place. And so eventually the government steps in and it takes action against these criminals. It takes them off the street. It cleans up everything. And then you accuse the government of being evil for getting all the wicked ones off the street that you complained about. That's unreasonable.
No.
You still don't see it. You still don't see it. That okay? Explain yourself.
All right, because if the government only removed the wicked ones, then I'd be okay with it. But if they destroy the entire city because some people are wicked, then the government is wicked. Then the government is evil. Now, the flaw in that scenario you gave me is, I agree. The Bible says that the entire city was wicked except for less than 10 people. All right, but logically, that doesn't follow. It is impossible that an entire city, 2 cities, that every single person is wicked except for less than 10.
Okay, again, see, we're going back to the same point. That's what I'm saying. It is, we aren't going to get anywhere. All right, because, all right, listen, but okay, but it's on your end though. Okay, it's the story says there were, okay, and again, like I told you before, there's no reason for you to disagree with what the story says if it's fictional. Okay, the story says that everyone was evil. You complain against the evil, then this God in that Bible destroys only the wicked ones. Okay, this fictional story, and then you call him evil for doing that. That's unreasonable.
No, it's not, because even though the fictional story says that everyone was wicked, logic tells us it's impossible.
No, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. It's a fictional.
It's not irrelevant.
Yes, it is.
It's not irrelevant.
Okay, let me say this. Then we're gonna take some questions. Okay, if we're discussing a fictional book like you insist it is, like we're discussing. What is it? What was that book you brought up? What's that?
Harry Potter.
Story. Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Okay? We're discussing Harry Potter. There's many things in Harry Potter that doesn't happen in reality. But if we're given a book report of what's in there, we're not going to deny what it says. Even though we don't see magical dragons and going on, but hey, this dragon did such and such. If that's what the story says. Okay, it's
agreed,
fiction.
But there's a very strong parallel.
Logic doesn't have to do anything to do with a fictional book, a fantasy book.
Okay, give me a chance to talk, and I'll tell you.
What's that?
In Harry Potter, Lord Voldemort is evil. In the fictional story, is an evil character. Now, in the same way, in the fictional story of the Bible, God is an evil character.
You haven't proven that. What you're proving is that no, you haven't. I don't even. It is really. I really can't. Yeah, we're not going to get anywhere if you can't understand that.
Okay, let me tell you, it's more than just Sodom and Gomorrah. He wiped out the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites. He wiped out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entire nations. You want to tell me in 6 entire nations, every single man, woman, and child and animal, according to the Bible, were thoroughly wicked, every single one?
I'm not even going to go there yet, because you're not dealing honestly with Sodom and Gomorrah, which is specifically
I'll concede. Sodom and Gomorrah, every single person was wicked. I'll give it to you. Can we move on from that?
All right, every person was evil, so was God evil?
Every single person was evil.
Right, that's what the story says. That's what the story
now what
says.
about all these other ones? What about the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites?
Wait a minute. Okay, all right. Now that you're conceding that every person was wicked in Sodom and Gomorrah, okay, as the story says, God got the ones out, so there was no righteous people in the city destroyed. It was all of them were wicked. Specifically says that. So was God righteous in destroying the wicked people?
Absolutely.
He was righteous for doing that.
Absolutely.
Right? So he wasn't evil for doing that.
No, I want to move on. I'm tired of that story.
Okay, right. So that was my only point, was that you hadn't, by that story, you had not proved that God was evil in that. Okay, now let's go to another.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready for you. Said now. You said the Amalekites and go ahead.
Yeah. So what about the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites? He wiped out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entire, in not even towns, not even cities, entire populations, the entire race of those people wiped out, man, woman, child, and animal, because they were all wicked.
Well, does this now? See now each instance of those, I don't know each instance. Like I'm very familiar with the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. We know this is very specific that everyone was wicked. Okay, now those other cities, I know that he destroyed them for the same reasons as far as them being wicked and doing wicked things. Okay, because
So
he
now you're
lists.
going to tell me in the Bible, in the fairy tale of the Bible, that it says that all these people were evil, every last one. So then they must have been according to the story.
Okay, all right, okay.
Is that what you're saying?
All right, listen carefully to what I'm saying, okay? All right. In the Bible, all right, what we understand so far, all right, which we both agree on, is that God tells us to love one another. That's what he tells us. All right. Now you agree with that morality because you said you believe you're a good person because that's what you try to practice anyway. All right. So that is what God stands for. People who are evil, wicked, violent, and aren't loving their neighbors, they're hating one another. They're doing all sorts of terrible things, raping, killing, stealing, um, having sex with animals, all types of stuff. And that's why actually before I'm familiar with satanic ritual abuse and Satanists and Luciferians, what they actually do. I'm talking about the real ones who worship Satan. Okay, this is type of stuff that was being practiced in those cities. And then you also have now in the story, you have fallen angels who came down, they were mating with women, okay, which is an abomination, and they had an offspring, a hybrid offspring. Okay, in mythology, it's called the demigods. You know, different things like that, like Hercules, different ones. You had that going on, and they whipped up the wickedness. Okay, because these gods involve themselves in all types of sexually perverse things, and it involves violence. Violence, you know, the sex involves violence. They glorify these things, and so when you have a city which is refuses to listen to what God tells them, and they're worshiping these demonic gods, it gets super corrupt. They get into all types of perverse things. It gets full of violence. Again, like I said, if you study satanic ritual abuse, what they practice, imagine cities like that. Okay, people aren't familiar with the type of wickedness that went on. Or just like this is where we use the example of Sodom and Gomorrah, what the men did when the angels came. The whole it said the whole city, and they even got struck with blindness. They were still trying to find the door and try to rape the men. So that's how wicked they are. This is what people don't understand. God, who tells us to love one another, he's very patient with cities that refuse to do that, but then it gets so bad, so corrupt, there's nothing else left to do. And even then, he still, if they would turn around, he would spare them, but they don't. And so, yeah, there's cities that get so corrupt like that it's nothing left to do but destroy them.
So is your argument?
That's why it's not my argument. It's what's in the Bible. That's the reason.
No,
every time you look in the Bible, when God,
no,
go ahead.
I'm asking you. So is your argument now that every single one of those those nations, every one of them, every man, woman, child, and animal in those nations were so perverse, so wicked, so everything that they had to be wiped off the face of the earth?
Like I said, I can't answer for each and every person in every case, right? But like I told you before in some of the other streams that we had, sometimes there are individuals, even young ones, like I told you about that case where God was angry with the family because everybody was wicked, and then their child got sick, and they went to God to find out if he was going to live, and God told them, no, he's not going to live. But the baby or that young kid was the only one. God said that he's the only one that I find something good in, and he allowed him to have a burial. All right. So if you read in Scripture, there are some cases where God will have some good people die to get them out of those situations. But we have to remember there's going to be a resurrection later of the righteous and the unrighteous. And we all die anyway. We live a lifespan, we all die. So sometimes, yes, that life is cut short. But see, we don't see a lot of people they can't see things the way God does, because to God they're just sleeping, because he's gonna resurrect them later.
So now we're back to the. So now we're back to the kill them all, not let God sort them out later.
Well, he doesn't have to kill them. God doesn't have to kill anyone, because we all die anyway.
But that's what happened to these 6 nations.
Right. Well, because they were very corrupt and wicked.
Every single man, woman, child, and animal.
I just answered that.
Okay. So again, you're gonna go back to saying, in this fictional storybook, it says that they were, so God acted.
Right. Just like okay, you take the city of
Nineveh. This is why I didn't want to have this discussion, because it's not a fair discussion. Because you can keep going back and saying, well, in this fictional book it says so it must be true.
Okay, all right. So you understand what you're saying. You're being unreasonable. Okay, now let's say I'm dealing with you on your level. Okay, I hear people say, this is what I hear. I hear both of them, they complain. People specifically leave God because he allows evil to happen. That's their complaint. Okay, all right. So I say I can sympathize with that, because I have the same displeasure. All right. So then there are cases. Let's say they were living back in a time of a city that was wicked. Okay, they're sitting there complaining that God allows wickedness, and they're against God. So then they're living in a time where they hear the news that God's about to destroy the city because it's so wicked. Okay, he's not going to destroy you. Let's say you're an adult and you're the only one in the city who listens to God, who doesn't want to follow the same things. But so you might hear some good news. It's kind of bad because you don't want to see everybody dead. But hey, this is the conditions you're complaining about. So he comes, destroys. He allows you and your family to live and repopulate, because you're the only one he sees something good in. The other ones are wicked. You complaining, but then when he comes in and destroys, you call him evil for destroying the wicked people that you just finished complaining about.
Because according to the Bible, there were no good ones in those cities. There were no good ones. Every last one was evil. Every last man, woman, and child, and animal was evil.
All right, so you don't have any room to complain then. What are you complaining about if you're actually against evil? What you're proving is that you're for
because
evil.
Logically it is impossible.
What's that?
Logically it is impossible.
See, again, you keep jumping back and forth. See, that's what I say. I meet atheists where they come from. Or if you're going to be in a fantasy book, which you consider as fantasy, it's illogical, right? Because it's fantasy. So why are you appealing to what's logical in a fantasy? Right?
And
so
this
it's either
is
one or the other. Do you believe it or not?
And this is why I didn't want to have this discussion, because if I'm bound within the fairy tale, and logic and reason is thrown out the window purely because the book says so, then it's not a fair discussion. Because logic tells us it is impossible that every single man, woman, child, and animal in all those nations were pure evil. It's just impossible. Even though the book says it is. Now, this is where the contradiction comes in. I can't help it. I'm a thinking, reasonable person that can't just follow a fictional book blindly and say, well, if it says so in the book, then it must be. This is where the contradiction comes in.
Okay, but I just use a real life scenario as if you were in a situation where there's evil. Okay, let's say there's an evil city. All right, you're in it, and you and your family are the only ones who are doing what's right. Okay, you're the only ones living the way you say you live, right? You say you try to do what's good. Everyone else it's a bad situation. I mean, you're afraid to even let your kids go out. You're afraid to walk around. So then God takes action, or the government. That's why I try to get away from God, because you can't seem to reason with God. So I say the government. What if the government steps in and they take action against all these criminals? And you're the only one. You happen to be the only one left. No, but
yes, but I get killed as well.
Listen. No, listen. You see, you're being unreasonable. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I remember
No,
you
it's a
said your wife
direct
tells you this
correlation.
sometime, right?
No, it's a
Gary.
direct correlation.
Huh?
It's a direct correlation. You saying that in these 6 nations, every
We're not
single
talking about
person
that
was
right now.
wicked.
No. You okay? Listen, you have to stick with something. Okay, I'm giving you a scenario, an analogy with you in it. Okay, forget about the cities or everything. I'm
Okay, so
just trying to
give me
deal
a
with
chance to talk, and I'll tell you.
I'm just dealing with your reasoning faculties right now. Okay,
Give
so
me
I'm
a
putting
chance
you.
to talk, and I'll tell you.
I just gave you a chance to talk. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. In the scenario you're giving me, the entire city is evil, and I'm the only righteous person.
Right.
Now, if you apply biblical standards, I would be killed along with everybody else because nobody was spared previously.
Okay, I said, don't forget about the Bible, forget about God. I said, just you in this city and the government. Okay, forget about the
Yeah.
book. Okay, I'm just dealing with your reasoning faculties. Okay, you and your family are the only good ones in this city. Okay, it's just an analogy. All right, you're
Yeah.
practicing what you told me you do, and your family does the same, but everyone around you doesn't. Okay, then finally the government steps in and takes action against the all these criminals that they weren't acting against before.
Okay.
And so would they be just in doing that? Would you agree with
Yes.
them?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
No, they
All
will.
right, now that's reasonable. Okay. All right, so that's what God did. That's what you see examples of in the Bible.
No.
God
No.
is
No.
a
No. No.
king.
No. No.
All
Not at
right.
all.
All right.
In the
Okay.
Bible, he killed the righteous as well.
Not for the same. No, not for the same reason. God don't just. Okay, God. So you believe that God was displeased with the righteous? I already
No.
told you that we
I'm
all die.
saying
We all die.
I'm saying it is impossible that entire city, every man, woman, and child can be evil. It's just impossible. There must be good
No, it's
people
not.
amongst them.
All right. Well, that's what you think, but you're wrong.
Well, because I'm using logic, and I'm not just going, the Bible says so, so I believe it. I'm using logic.
All right. Let's use a reverse in reverse. Do you think everyone in the city can be good?
No.
Okay.
In every civilization, there's going to be good ones, there's going to be bad ones. In every
Okay,
civilization.
but that's what the Bible shows. In the time of Noah, most of them were bad, but you had some saved. There's mostly situations in the Bible where all right, God hasn't destroyed everyone in the Bible. We're still
At the
here,
time of Noah.
huh?
At the time of Noah.
No, he didn't.
Who didn't he kill?
Noah and his family.
So on the entire planet, those were the only 8 righteous people.
Yes, according to the story.
And this is why I didn't want to have this discussion, because you can't just say, according to the story, it's that. Logically, it's impossible. There cannot be every single person on the planet except 8 people be evil, and just those 8 people are good. That's impossible.
Well, yeah, let's try to focus on how it would be possible. Okay. All right. Take for instance
Okay.
that you have a God. Let's say you have okay, God who tells us to, we know what God tells us what to do. Okay. Then you have another being, Satan, who is also, he's very well, not compared to God, but he was full of wisdom by God, but then he corrupted his wisdom. Now he uses his wisdom in a corrupt way to lead people away from God. Now his ideology teaches us to indulge in our flesh, participate in all whatever pleasurable desire you have. Okay, do what thou wilt. Won't that be very appealing to most people?
Yeah,
In
including
other
Noah.
words, do. Okay, well, it wasn't to Noah. Okay, you cannot put him there because the story doesn't show that. Okay, but I'm saying, okay, even if it did, okay, because we have desires. You have some people that don't go that route. They resist those desires. Just like, let's say you're married, right? All right,
Yes.
you may be tempted by some woman. Okay, You may have a desire or be tempted by some beautiful woman, but you don't act on that. You say, no, I don't want that done to me, and I'm not going to do that to my wife. Okay. So but Satan teaches you, no, indulge that. Okay. So you have a majority of people that's going to appeal to, and they're going to act on it. Okay. Not just that, and other things. Satan appeals to our flesh. And so you can have a whole society of people that, hey, they love this, and then how to get rid of this, you do whatever you need to do to make yourself happy, even at the expense of other people. You don't have to regard them. So that can be very appealing to people.
I agree. But it's impossible. You want to tell me every single person in China, every single person in Africa, every single person in Australia, every single person across the globe was evil except 8 people?
At that time, yes. No one listened to him. No one listened.
Okay.
No one listened. All right, listen. Everyone knew the same thing.
You hear yourself.
Okay. Yes, I hear myself. All right,
I know the Bible says so, but it's logically impossible.
Right. Well, it's not. You want to believe that, then believe it. But again, I just explained to you how worshiping Satan is very appealing to a lot of people. The people doing it right now.
And by the way, Noah wasn't righteous.
All right, wait a minute. Let me just finish what I got to say. All right. The satanic ideology is permeating society right now. Satan and Luciferians deny God's existence. Okay, although I'm talking about real Satanists, they know God exists. They know Satan exists. They actually worship him and do sacrifices to him, but they lie and they mislead people away from believing God, and they tell people to indulge in all this. Everything goes. Okay, so it appeals a lot to people. You don't condemn anybody for anything. This is very appealing. It's permeating society. It's permeating the world. Okay, eventually, where even if you speak against anything, that's going to be against the law, because lawlessness is what's going to reign, and there's only going to be a few that eventually have the courage enough to go against that, because it can involve their death. Where they go against the lawlessness or saying that anything is right or wrong. It's like you don't have the right to say what's right or wrong. The world ruler says, hey, everything is fine. There is no right or wrong. All right, so people are you can imagine how the whole world, except for a few, would cater to that. This is what happened in the past when God is so patient and he lets things go, lets them do what they're going to do. If they change, he would spare them, but they don't. There comes a point where a person gets incorrigible, just like Satan and the demons. And they don't change. They're just hardened into that way. So that you can't understand that a whole society of people would be given over to fleshly pleasures. It's hard for me to understand, because that's what people constantly do. They want pleasure. What makes them happy. They're always pursuing things that make them happy, and they don't trust in God, who actually knows what you are to do or how to live in order to get the most happiness. They don't want to hear that. What Satan tells them is more appealing. It's instant gratification. So a lot of people go that way. But when they worship Satan, like you said, you're familiar with Satanism and satanic ritual abuse and all that. All right. But when they worship Satan, there's other things that are involved that they have to do. We're sure if you're familiar with like you said you are, then you understand all the degrading things that they participate in. And then once you get in, it's hard to get out. It's hard to get out. So you can understand. No, it's not. This is reality. I'm explaining to you the real world.
Because not every single person on the planet is a Satanist. I still can't get my head around every single person on the planet except Noah. And you're telling me Noah, his wife, and his sons and their wives were not tempted by Satan?
No, I didn't say that. I just said I explained to you how we could all be tempted, but you may not act on it.
So there was nobody on the planet aside from those 8 people that were tempted but didn't act on it.
What I said was, in the Bible, it says, The only ones who listened to that warning was Noah and his family. Although everyone living in there, they knew the same things. They knew the story of Adam and Eve. They're living back there. But again, you have to understand, you had the fallen angels who came down. They're very appealing, very beautiful creatures. Okay, they're mating with women. See, that's what I'm saying. You got to understand all the things that were going on back there.
On the entire planet, right? Every single person except 8 people.
Okay, let's just deal with what the story says, okay? All right, you keep saying, let's just deal with what it says, okay? I'm trying to paint a picture for you of how it was back then so you can understand, so you can relate it to reality. Imagine some beings, angels, angelic men coming down. They're like Superman. Are you looking in the movies, you see the movie Superman? Do you think women are going to be very attracted to him, to Superman?
Probably.
There's no doubt about it. Okay. Now you imagine a whole bunch of supermen, okay, extremely beautiful, gorgeous, has power. Okay. Women are going to flock after those men, have sex with them, bear their children.
But not Noah's wife and his daughters-in-law.
Okay, not them. Okay, all right. Let me just finish. Okay. All right, let's say you were back then and you have your children, okay, and you teach them what's right. Now these guys that come down are wicked. They're beautiful, but they're wicked. Now you're gonna teach your daughter, hey, don't have anything to do with these guys. Just like today, you have bad boys. You have some bad boys that are handsome, very physically appealing to women, but
I get it. There was temptation everywhere. I get it, but that's not the point.
Well, okay, let me just finish my story, okay?
All right.
All right. So you're gonna have these angelic beings or gods. They worship them as gods. They're gonna feel privileged to even have relations with them. Then they endorse all types of things like you're seeing today in society. That's being promoted, gender fluidity, and it's gonna come to bestiality, everything. Okay. That's what they vote. Okay, sex with them. I'm talking about men and women. Okay, everything you can imagine, and some of the things you can't imagine. This is what they were about. Like, if you read some of the mythology, you'll know that they'll say that the gods were of great beauty, but they were extremely immoral.
I'm with you. Okay? I agree.
And they were full of violence and always at war and different things. So if you can imagine a world like that.
I agree. I agree with all that.
Right, so all I'm doing is okay. So what do you disagree with?
I get you. These demons came down. They were beautiful. Everybody wanted them. There was all this trouble all over the planet. They took all the women. The men had sex with them. I get it. Except 8 people. These 8 people were the only ones that didn't do it. On the entire planet.
Yes, that's what it says. Yeah.
Which
and then the Bible also says that in the future. Possible. Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. Let's go to some of these comments over here. Okay.
All right. Thanks for watching. Again, please remember I've got a website up now, www.truthseekingatheist.com, where I'm putting up new stuff constantly, as much things as I can find, facts and truths out there that people can use when in discussion or when in debate. Have a look, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Keep well.